Tuz Biber FM.
Hello, can I see your passports, please?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Comedy Passport Podcast. I'm your host, Leon Sandler. On this podcast, we interview creatives, comedians, and all kinds of people from all over the world in Istanbul, Turkey. I'm here today with
Me.
That's right, folks, with him. and you are?
Saman Tinati.
That's right. I didn't want to say that because I'd probably mispronounce it, but I'm here with Saman. So Saman is an international comedian, also on the Istanbul comedy scene. Saman, could you tell our tens of thousands of eager listeners something about yourself?
Why didn't you introduce me? What am I
I
here?
don't.
Who am I here?
I'm joined by my co-host and production assistant and coffee boy,
Recently promoted to bellboy.
drug mule.
Yeah, a lot of titles. Murat Gençoğlu.
He had to remind me because I'm not even entirely sure. Murat, who lives somewhere, I don't know where. He's never invited me to his house.
Yeah.
You are all invited. All of the podcast listeners are invited to my house.
That's right. All three of you are here, and you're welcome to come to Murat's house specifically, not to mine. It's really filthy in there. It's not good. But in Murat's house, you can go visit him. Bring me back something nice from his house if you're in there.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, Saman, so could you tell the people a little something about yourself?
Well, I've been living here since 2012, and yeah, that's it.
Great. Folks, he doesn't want to give out a lot, and we'll see why in just a few moments. Saman's not very big on giving out personal information about where he lives and what he's doing. Saman, I'll just drop the bomb if you won't. You're from Iran then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to make it like I'm not accusing you of anything, but we're interviewing people from all over the world here, hypothetically. I mean, one Turk, Bulgarian, and now you, so that's...
And you, that was
and
the
me.
joke. You are half Russian, half American,
I'm
Jewish.
full Russian and full American.
I'm full Jewish.
And half Jewish. That's the part with the discount, actually, is I'm half Jewish.
See, that already is kind of dangerous for me.
Yeah. Like, why didn't you commit to the...
For you listeners, I want to say that Saman requested a masseuse to relax in front of a Russian Jewish.
Yeah, so Murat, get to it.
Man, I thought I was going to be interviewed by a chick. That's why I'm so disappointed.
I told you I would be here.
Yeah,
I already told you. I don't know what you thought would happen.
I don't know.
I'm disappointed too. If I could get a chick in here, I wouldn't be doing a comedy podcast. You understand?
True.
I can be a woman. I can claim I'm a woman. This is 2022. I'm a woman now.
That's right.
For
We've
this podcast.
suddenly gone very anti-woke here. We're alt-right now. We're kind of neo-Nazis, which is weird because I'm with a Turk and an Iranian.
Yeah.
And the half Jew in me, there's like a spider sense that goes off. All right. So Saman, you've been living here for how long did you say?
For exactly 10 years now. Actually, I came in September 2012 to study and get my master's degree. I did graduate, so that you know, and some other boring shit.
You don't sound too enthusiastic about that. You're like, yeah, I think I graduated.
You don't look like you graduated from anywhere.
That's true. If you told me university graduate Saman Tinati, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know, I went halfway through a PhD. Oh, not because I wanted to be an academic, you know, like I just did it to avoid military service back in my country.
Which is the best reason to get a PhD.
Man, like half of our population is doing this. We're not really like so enthusiastic about like learning shit.
Right. Just, oh no, I couldn't possibly join in the military. I've got to do my PhD. And in what did you study?
Architecture.
Yeah.
I did it to impress girls.
You did studying architecture?
Yeah.
Did it work?
No, obviously I'm with you.
Your Russos are
right.
canceling out your intelligence.
If you landed here, it must not have worked too well.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. So architecture, I do think that's like engineering is less sexy than architecture, and architecture is the sexy.
And I studied engineering.
And you know,
I can see that.
For some reason, like when you say like I'm an architect, people have this 1950s image in their head, like you're in an attic and you're opening up like big rolls of like, I don't know, plans and stuff, and you got all these round glasses, and yeah, that's the image they have. Basically that scene from I think it was like a movie where Jude Law was playing. I don't know, or maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
yeah,
one
you
of those
get the
things.
idea.
That's your benchmark about being cool, Jude Law.
Yeah, it's funny. I always thought Jude Law is what Germany had in the 30s.
Hey, that was my joke, man.
What?
Yeah, I said it on stage one time.
Oh, no
I s-
way.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, now we have a copyright dispute. So I've stolen Saman's joke, which
It went something like this. Who's the most hated actor in Palestine? It's Jude Law.
okay, that's okay. Palestine, that makes sense, but it's better if it's Germany because it's Jude, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm giving you notes on your own joke, which I stole
Tell me
from
more,
you.
master.
That's right. So, you studied architecture, right, to avoid military service, which I think is definitely the best reason to get a PhD. Right?
Yeah.
And so you've been here for 10 years. Have you been doing comedy that whole time, or how did you get into doing stand-up?
No, actually, I don't know, man. Well, there's this short version of how I tell people. I just woke up one day and thought I'm gonna do comedy. When I told my brother I have a show, like my very first show, you remember? I told him, hey, I got like this gig today, and he was like, what the fuck? Why? Like, because I never did anything before that. But it was in the back of my head. It sort of happened in the pandemic, like when things were in lockdown. You know, I had this mentality that I thought everything's gonna be like this forever, you know? And then I thought, hey, I'm in this huge ass city and I never used the facilities. Why didn't I get on stage? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Yeah, so I had a lot of things that I wrote, but I don't know. I thought I would seem pretentious or whatever, which I do right now.
Yeah, I know. Dude, being on a comedian podcast is kind of the definition of pretentious.
Yeah.
And the fact that we like have an office to do this in is
Yeah.
insane. Like,
I already promoted it before I even got on.
folks,
That's how much of an asshole I am.
this is a promise for me. I will never promote the podcast. If you found it, I don't know how. I had nothing to do with you finding it.
Let's wait for the 9 incels to listen to this.
That's right. I mean, this is the podcast only promoted on incel forums and the 4chan boards that school shooters visit.
I heard you're big on Reddit.
That's right. That's right. This is going to be, it's like Reddit, but you can only access it through Tor.
Yeah.
It's a dark web Reddit for people who think Reddit is too normal.
Yeah.
So what the fuck were we talking? Okay.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. So you said like you got interested in writing. So were you already writing stuff before you moved to Istanbul, or did you begin the writing process here?
I mean, actually, I was doing short films and I had a few scenarios. But
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was directing. I directed a couple of short films, and I was,
Wow.
I have a lot of people I know in the sector, in the film sector and stuff like some
Here
people
in Turkey.
Yeah, and in Iran too. I mean,
Mm.
like I met them here at most of them. But the thing is, I mean, it's a pain in the ass when you want to shoot a short film. It takes a lot of organizing, especially if you're on a no budget or on a small budget.
Yeah.
You know, like it's very hard to
That's
organize.
the biggest downside. You can't pay anyone. You don't get paid.
Yeah, man, I made movies with, if I tell you, you'd be like, I could show it to you and you'd think like, people usually estimate I made it for like 10 times the price that I actually paid. Like that's how my show is efficient in this cost thing.
Mhm.
But
But
yeah,
do you feel like doing those kind of movies though, like it forces you to be creative and it forces you to be good because you don't have a budget to cover up like
yeah,
know?
but I mean, since you're working as a team, I mean, people, you can't really rely on people, you know, like it happened, like sometimes I had to change the actor the morning of the shooting. That's how much of a shitty,
Wow.
but you know, it all turned out okay, I guess. Nonetheless, I wrote a lot of these things, and I couldn't shoot them anymore because it's hard. But like, I could just get on a stage and add a little bit comedy to it, and maybe just tell the story or something, you know?
right. All right. So like you were creating these short films and you had like scenarios, right?
Like some scenarios, sometimes I had just like like daft ideas and
Mhm.
stuff. But like, I turned them into more. Some of them were drama, but I added some comedy to it. And I went on stage because most of them were things that actually happened to me in a way, one way or another. And so I thought I had all of these and I never got on stage or told them or anything, you know, like, so first chance I got after the pandemic when things opened up, I got on to this other open mic, and then Asli, our mutual friend, she introduced me. She told me that there's a comedy open mic because the other one was like
Spoken word,
spoken word or some shit, which is boring.
No offense to any of the spoken word people who listen to this podcast. Which I'm assuming is all of them.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I know. There are a couple of English stages that you can perform stand-up comedy in Istanbul. Just to talk about them really quickly to inform our 3 listeners. We have spoken word every other Tuesday where you can go and perform anything you want, not just stand-up comedy. You can play music, read poems, read your diary, or just cry on stage. Yeah. Everything is allowed.
And a lot of that happens, but it can't be racist, sexist, or homophobic.
Yeah,
which is why a lot of the comedians,
I'm like,
they need the opposite of that.
Are you for real, dude? I come from a country of censorship. Don't tell me what to fucking do, you know?
Fair point.
Like, that's why I was like so pissed off about it. I was like, I'm not gonna come here again.
Yeah. I need to be extra homophobic.
That's why we have open mics where you can be extra homophobic, extra racist, extra sexist, anything you want.
Folks, and he means it.
Have you ever seen me like do any of these jokes?
Like, yeah. There's some things that if someone were to say them on the podcast, we would have to bleep them, even in English.
Yeah,
dude, I have deep intellectual jokes. Are you for real? Like, I mean, sort of. For me, they are. They're pretty smart in my own world.
I mean, that's
for a college dropout. Yes.
For a PhD dropout.
Yeah, exactly.
PhD dropouts are by definition a lot smarter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, open mics every Sunday, 6 p.m. is in Kadıköy, and every Tuesday, 8:30, Mentalist Pub. Just to announce them.
Now back to the show.
It's too bad that all of our listeners are actually in Yerevan, or they would come, but they can't make it.
This podcast is sponsored by Port VPN. I didn't say the real name because of copyright.
We got to get.
Thank you so much for being sensitive about that. Thank you.
We're actually getting all of the funding from Mohammed bin Salman.
Is that why we're in a fucking basement, dude? Why are there no windows?
Yeah, there's not going to be any windows now. If you would just,
I feel like I'm being interrogated.
Well, you kind of are. And there's another room that we take you to after the podcast interview.
Yeah.
Where, let's just say it depends on your answers to this interview here. Friend of the show, Mohammed bin Salman. I'm gonna keep saying I'm wishing that into existence. I'm manifesting that. Saman, what is your stand-up process like right now? You know, when you go on stage, when you're working on a set, how do you normally work on it right now?
I mean, if it's open mic, it's usually like something that happened to me in the last 2 weeks or something. You know, like I actually a lot of funny things happen to me, or I don't know, I see them funny, but yeah, I mean, I usually just add to that or interact with the audiences more. And what do you mean? What's the fucking process? Do you have a process? That sounds
that's the one thing everybody asks about. What's your process? And it's like, I have a process.
Process?
Yeah.
Well, I heard. I don't know who I heard it from, but I heard somebody who studied this like comedy in a university or some shit.
Really?
I don't know if it was a university or some college or something.
A disgusting human being, to be sure.
They took courses in regard of this. Why?
One of those scam courses, right?
Man, that's...
When you finish this, you'll become a professional stand-up comedian.
It would be better to just learn about cryptocurrency.
That's so cringe, though.
Horrible. Yeah. So obviously, you don't do that. Do you just kind of go on stage and talk about whatever happened to you through the week and like refine it that way?
Mostly that's what I do. And but I enjoy it more whenever I have like short jokes, like I don't know, like smaller jokes,
like one-liners.
One-liners, yeah, specifically one-liners, because like they're harder to think of for me, at least. I don't know, and also I get more of a kick when I'm doing it in Turkish. I've done Turkish open mics. I haven't had a solid show yet in it, but I don't know, because I don't know how it's going to turn out whenever I get on stage and I perform Turkish. You know, it could go any way.
Okay. Yeah. So Saman, you're going on stage, you're processing like whatever's happened to you throughout the week. And do you usually like refine it? Do you write a lot of stuff down, or are you just kind of working it out on stage?
Actually, I'm trying to master more of like interacting with the audience. I mean, I get more of a kick.
Crowd work.
Yeah, you know, like it's more I don't know. It's more fun. I need to get a kick out of what I'm doing. Otherwise, like for a while, when I started, I had my standard set, but you can only do like your set for I don't know a month, and then you have to refresh it.
Yeah.
I know people, and you guys know that. Dude, I saw this guy's show.
We're not
like,
naming any names.
yeah, but you know who I'm talking about. This guy, I saw his show like maybe like 4 years ago, and I went to his show again, and he was pretty much doing like, I don't know, 70% of the same stuff.
Yeah, well, to be fair, a lot of people are still kind of learning English here, so maybe that's just...
They just write their
what he
jokes
knows.
in
Yeah,
Turkish,
he's like got his script
translated in Google. And
But I get what you mean.
memorize.
I also can't do the same jokes over and over again because then it gets boring to me. And the only reason to do this, any of this, including this fucking podcast, is because it's fun. Like we're not in it for the money, obviously.
Yeah.
We're not in it for the fame or the power. It's just-
Obviously, we don't pay these guys.
I
Yeah.
am.
You-
I want fame and power.
Yeah, well, this is ironically the first step.
That's why I'm here.
The first step in the media empire is appearing actually on this podcast. I'm the kingmaker.
Do you really have 100,000 like followers?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They're mostly bots that I've purchased through the dark web.
Man, I don't have Spotify. I'm too poor to afford it.
Yeah. Well, no, we want
Okay.
only. This is only
Yet-
available on Spotify Premium, and then I send a direct MP3 file to Mohammed bin Salman to his personal email. Yeah. So like you're working that out. You said you've done shows in Turkish too.
Yeah.
How's that been? Do you notice a lot of difference between English and Turkish audiences, or between English and Turkish material that you do?
Well, obviously, there's like tenfold more like people that do Turkish comedy here.
Mhm.
I mean, it's harder to get like probably like even on open mics, as the list is much more, it's longer but yeah, I mean, most of my jokes they're about etymology, like I just make fun with words and
Puns.
stuff. Yeah, puns and stuff because like I don't know this happens like maybe like in two occasions. Either you're high as fuck and you start thinking about words in your native language, or you're just you're discovering a language, or you pay attention more about words, like which is something that I pay attention more in Turkish, And yeah, so like 90% of my jokes in Turkish, they're like they're just about certain words that seem
More
funny.
structure, more mathematical. You just
Yeah,
play with
Yeah,
words to just...
This is one of the things about doing comedy in two or more languages, right? Is that you pay special attention because you had to like learn the language. You pay special attention to it, maybe in a way that native speakers don't. Right?
Yeah,
because
sure.
it's like it's harder for you.
Yeah.
But that also means like you have to think about it more, and you get like weird puns or weird grammar rules that like native speakers probably just gloss over. They don't even think about.
Exactly. And I think it's more interesting to see a foreigner say something like that.
But when it comes to like doing material about like current events, do you save most of that for English, or is that not part of your act at all?
For English, for sure. Like if it's something too sophisticated, I mean, most of my Turkish jokes, they're short as well because like, I mean, I am fluent in Turkish, but I'm not fluent mentally, like if somebody heckles me, I might not be able to respond on the spot,
It's hard to be quick-witted. Absolutely.
Yeah. But in English, I wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to have like, this is the hard thing about comedy too, is that it really requires you to have a mastery of the language that you're in,
True.
because it's like if you're going to do crowd work, if you're going to be on the spot and responding to people, like I only speak English and Russian, and my Russian is pretty terrible. And I didn't realize how terrible it was until I did comedy in Russian. And I was like, oh boy.
Which was like last week, right?
A couple weeks ago. Yeah. And that was...
Yeah, I think you were. I mean, I don't understand Russian, but I was in the audience.
Yeah, somehow you were. Now who's spying on who? Yeah, but it's like, that was a vastly different experience. And we have people, again, from all over the world here doing comedy. And most of them are doing it in their second language, which is a lot harder, but it also gives us a lot of perspectives that I think like comedians in America just don't have at all. Yeah. And so like you do jokes about etymology. Are there any jokes that you've written that are maybe too sensitive or too like risky for Turkish audiences?
Not really, because I don't. I actually pay more attention of what I'm saying in Turkish.
Mhm.
than when I'm doing it in English.
So yeah, how is it? How is it that like, what's the profile of a Turkish comedy goer?
So,
Goers.
Can I cut in and ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
So the definition of being too risky in terms of jokes changes when you are doing them in English, right? To the English audience in Turkey.
True. I mean, like, yeah, you're not risking too much when you're doing an English show here, honestly. And also, first of all, because there's more international people there, and second of all, the type they're because they know English.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing. I'm just gonna shut up. You get it, right?
I get it. I
They're-
get it. Yeah,
yeah,
that was the
they're-
question.
What? Because they know English.
I got my answer. They know English. That's why they use all the processing power in their brain. So their part
Yeah.
of the brain who gets offended is shut down during the process.
They don't understand. They don't know
That's what I
enough
get.
English to respond to you.
Yes.
Like you can't get heckled because they don't really know. Like
They can't be critical.
Yeah. You're just Google translating it and trying to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're pretty safe in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is happening? Is it parallel universe? I never got restraining order, guys. Come
Yeah,
on,
definitely.
you are live here.
So we're here with Murat Gençoğlu, who has never gotten a restraining order. Not yet. This guy is allowed everywhere, and we mean everywhere.
You should totally check him
Probably
out.
too many places, if I'm honest. Like some
Yeah,
places, I don't
including
know.
your mom's houses.
Yeah. My mom's vagina is, pretty occupied, like the Turks occupied, the gates. It's the gates of Vienna. But
Where is your mom from?
Such a random question.
yeah, those are the Murat Gençoğlu.
Is that how you socialize?
Those are the Murat Gençoğlu shower thoughts, and they're all about my mother now. It's instead of weird questions, it's just questions about my mom and her bra size. And no, my mother is from Kemerova, which is
She must be a lovely woman because
Yes.
she didn't get you aborted.
That's right. Well, to be honest, I have some notes.
Yeah.
I kind of wish she had, but it's too late now.
Wow.
What are you gonna do? Hey, now I've got to keep being alive until I'm not.
Yeah, I just want to make you guys look super honest. That's why my next target to get a restraining order is your mom.
That's right. Well, it's kind of funny because she's already on another continent. So I admire the work you're putting in. So I have to go and get a restraining order
Yeah, I have
against
to
my
take
mother.
out a loan from bank
Yeah.
for the plane tickets.
Apply for a visa. It's just
Yeah.
the whole work. My mother is precious to you. And honestly, I respect that. I feel like you'd make a good stalker for her. If you're listening to the podcast, hi, Mom. She doesn't speak English that well, so it's probably fine. All right. So, Saman, we talked a little bit about censorship and, your desire to have like free expression in Turkey. Could you tell people a little bit about what it's like, trying to do something like stand-up comedy or filmmaking in Iran and the things that are happening there right now?
Wow. I don't know. It was always like big obstacle in front of you the entire time. I mean, yes, it does help you in your creativity. You find a lot of artists that have like gone through this obstacle some way. Like it's just such a hassle, to convince the people who actually have the power to screen your film or your exhibition. Or I know so many artists that are so underrated in Iran. It's basically you have to censor your own mind, like it's just one step behind North Korea, It gives you a bit of despair because you don't want to continue doing arts after a while. I mean, yeah, you have the motivation because of the limitations, but on the other hand, it seems like you've been cut off,
It forces you to be more creative, but on the other hand, you have to say the same things that people said all around the world again to go under the cracks of censorship, but you can't really say new things. That's the biggest obstacle.
Yeah. Well, we talked about how the only reason to do this is for the pleasure of it, the fun of it, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it's not very fun if you constantly have to worry about, getting a knock on your door from the police.
I mean, if you're someone there, if you have like a following, it's more riskier, like especially these days, there's more and more people that are getting knocks on their doors. There was a song released yesterday by this musician in Iran. Basically, what he did is he made a song about from all the Twitter titles of the people tweeted about the situation, and he made a song out of it, and it got like 40 million hits in like 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite impressive. And he got a knock on the door, and he got like arrested like just after 2 days. It's all bullshit, man. People know the situation. Nobody ever wanted this to happen. This morality police, when I was there, I spent like a third of my life, no, half of my life in Iran, right? I have some wild stories about this, like morality, not just me, like pretty much anybody from my generation or the new generation, you know, like you would think it's batshit, you know, the things that you do every day. Yeah, I know this show has a comedy element to it, but I don't know, I find it hard to make jokes about this.
No,
I
get that. I get that. No,
Yeah,
it's
not all
really
jokes,
something. It's
not
not all
always.
jokes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we are dealing like living in Turkey. You know, there's obviously a lot of censorship here too, and I think part of the goal of this show is to give people a space to talk
Right,
about, you know, what their perspective is to an English audience.
right. So like, you know, this theocratic regime, like people have had it up to the gills with them, you know, like it's been 40 years, and ever since like day one, I mean, like they had a whole different vision. Like, I don't know, our grandparents' generations, they had a whole different vision from how it was going to be. And then, you know, finally shit hit the fan. I'm glad it has, because like in the previous protests, I mean, it's getting more aggressive, but I think it's kind of necessary. I mean, you can't deal with a vampire by a peaceful protest, you know, like it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was questioning myself a few days ago when I saw footage of people like kicking the shit out of police officers. I was really enjoying it, you know, like I was like, should I be enjoying this? And I was like, yeah, I should, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to feel sympathy for the police.
It's not just the police. I wish it was just the police. The police is just like the tip of the iceberg, you know? Like there's so many different factors in this. I don't know where to start. Like the corruption, all of the money, like Iran is like such a fucking rich ass country, and like only a handful of people have took all of its wealth, you know? There's so much poverty in a country that shouldn't have poverty at all, you know? And then there's like, you know, the same fucking morality police. I was like, I got slapped by them. I used to wear like metal t-shirts when I was a teenager. And yeah, I mean, so many, I nearly got arrested for having coffee in the park with my girl. Like this was like, I don't know, 12 years ago. And yeah, so I was just having coffee with my girl in the park, and then like this cop, I see him coming from a distance. And you know, the system really makes you paranoid unwillingly. Like everybody gets paranoid in Iran one way or another. When they come here, even when they see police officers, they're still like, oh, am I doing? You feel like it's really successful in this sense. You know, when I came here, when I moved out of the country for like living there for a long time, I was locking all the doors. I don't know. I was locking all my bags because I was so paranoid, you know, like it took me forever to get rid of this.
You grow up with it. It's kind of like a way of life for you, and you can't decondition
Dude, it's
yourself.
like a nonstop bad trip. Anyway, I was having coffee in the park with my girl, and then I saw this cop coming from a distance. And so I told my girlfriend, so we gotta scram, you know, we gotta disappear. So I told her to go in a different direction, and I walked down these stairs. I realized nobody's coming, and then I thought, okay, coast is clear. I'm gonna go back. And then suddenly I hear this voice, "You stop!" And it was the same cop. And you know, I'm like a kid. I'm like 19 or something, 18, 19. I'm shitting in my pants, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm sorry or whatever. Like he said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm gonna ask you one question, and if you lie to me, I'm gonna take you in. Was the girl with glasses with you? And you know, I was confused as fuck because my girlfriend didn't have glasses at the time, so I didn't know what to say.
You gotta lean over, honey. Do you wear glasses?
So I said no, and he took me upstairs. He grabbed me from the wrist.
Maybe he was playing good cop, bad
No,
cop.
but I saw
Bad
it in
cop, worst cop.
dude. His eyes were
eyesight bad cop.
dude. His eyes were red as fuck. He smoked something for sure.
Oh my god,
And-
morality police is high all the time.
But he doesn't even have to be a morality police. You could just be a police.
Yeah.
So he grabbed me by the wrist and we were going upstairs and he's like pointing at my girl. That girl, was she with you? And I said, no. And well, obviously she knows the drill. She said, like, I don't know this guy. And then he's like, okay. So he said, like, he started like telling different shit. Like he wasn't convinced. And I said, okay, can we just like, like resolve this in another way? Bribing is very formal there. You learn this in third world countries very well. So like, that day I paid my university's tuition. And,
really?
Yeah. And I had
Like
I don't know.
whole years tuition?
like why does it make a difference?
For one cop? For one cop.
No. I didn't pay to him. I paid the university and I was out with my
Oh.
girlfriend. So I didn't have much cash on me at that time.
I
Like
see.
cards weren't very formal at the
I
time.
thought you were bribing the officer.
I
with
did.
Whole years tuition.
I had something the
Yeah.
equivalent of, let's say, I don't know, like something like, let's say, $10 or something.
Yeah, the officer didn't have a QR code you could scan to transfer money to him.
Yeah, I swear I've had friends that told me that they did take card or something.
Wow.
I could arrest you, or you want to pay cash or card?
You just hear some really batshit things. I had a friend that, like, like they're really corrupt. He said that he was just walking back home and the police car, like the car stopped and he said, get in. He got in and then he showed them like this. He took a booklet or something and he opened it and he said there was hash inside. He said, like, how much are you gonna pay me so that I don't like label you with this? That's so fucked
wow.
up, man.
Yeah. Yeah, well, at least that's a good level of honesty to expect from the police.
Yeah.
You know?
Man.
Yeah. So, like,
Haggling on the bribing.
it sounds like those cops are really above the law. Like, from everything that I've ever heard from all the Iranians I've talked to.
You really do feel like you should run away from the police when you see them. They're like thugs,
Yeah.
And it's not just the police. I'm telling you, like, there's the military force, there's the clergymen, like, there's all sorts of people that you run away from. And when something like this happens that makes you like depressed, you don't even feel like walking outside for a month. Like you feel so powerless, like lawlessness, real
It
lawlessness.
sounds like the whole structure is kind of designed to, make you paranoid, to
It
oppress
is.
you, and it's corrupt all the way down.
Don't trust anyone.
That's right.
It's exactly
All the
how
way
I
down
felt.
from the clergy to the military to the police. You can't, and I think that's part of the control, right? Is that like everybody is, constantly looking over their shoulder. Everybody's kind of censoring themselves all the time. Naturally.
Fear.
Yeah, fear is a big
Fear
part
in
of it.
one word. Like, if you had to say, like,
Yeah.
that's what rules any society that's like an autocracy.
Except
like,
Turkey, which is great and has no problems at all. And we've always said that.
dude.
Yeah.
Honestly, in Turkey, at least you've never been slapped by a police officer for wearing a Slayer t-shirt,
Yeah.
So that was the end of the story. You've been slapped after giving $10.
No,
Was
I
that
wasn't.
it?
No, that's a different story. I've had several of these, man. Like,
Oh.
this was just like, actually, he took the $10 and returned $2 back, and he said, "Go home with this." that was like,
That's nice of him.
Giving you change
You're
on your
saying,
bribe.
sure, yeah.
thank you for your concern. Yeah.
Is there a discount if you pay cash?
Yeah. And okay, so one time I was walking back from my high school with my friends and I was wearing this, again, a metal t-shirt. And then I was we're walking by, there's a police station right by my school, and we're walking in front of it, and then I hear Mr. Metalhead, like from the guard at the door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm on alert mode, like how dogs have their ears upwards. Like, that's how I was. And then I hear it for a second time, and it said, Mr. Metalhead. And I said to my friends, dude, I'm going to run. I think we should all scram, like, like this guy's calling me out. And then for a third time, Mr. Slayerhead. I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Maybe he just wants to talk about Slayer. Maybe he loves
Dude,
the
I
album.
turned around and I saw the guard at the door. Well, obviously he was a soldier, like, because like there's conscription in Iran, and regular people do their military service in the police sometimes. And
Oh.
so I see this guy roughly my age, and he's doing the devil horn, sticking his tongue out to me.
Yeah, he's a fan.
I was like,
He's a fan. I knew it.
that was fucking
That's already a
close.
happy ending.
That
You're like-
was.
You're like, dude, raining blood's fucking sick. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was shitting bricks at that point.
Yeah, and now he's just like, no, dude, Kerry King is fucking sick on guitar. yeah. How did you get this job in the morality police? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's also a part of it, like sometimes they have soldiers in the car with them that don't agree with this. Even like, higher up in the
Yeah.
yeah,
You
like
have to
in
wonder
the
how many
hierarchy,
people who are
there's
doing
not,
it are
there's
in it,
still people that they don't even believe in it, but they have to obey their drill sergeant or the one above them,
Yeah. I wonder how many people who are doing this are really, how many people in that force, in that corrupt structure, how many of them really believe in it anymore? I don't
there's-
think it's that many.
I think enough to like kick them in the face,
Yeah.
Like, and not think about this,
Yeah.
So a coup d'etat is on the way. It's possible. Are you saying this?
That's
That's
the official
very
stance of the podcast.
how did you first of all, how did you conclude to that from what I just
I thought there was a lot of police in
Yeah,
the
but the
police force
police
that
force-
is against these rules.
But that's, I mean, the police doesn't have the main. Yeah, it's a big force, but like the military and the Revolutionary Guard. The Revolutionary Guard is the main force in Iran, which is an unofficial military, which is, it's the same one that the United States recognizes as a terrorist organization.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's the main military in Iran, I could say. And the problem with that is me as someone as a guy in Iran, or any man in Iran who passes the age of 18 has obligatory military service. They're conscripted. And they don't choose where they're going. So you could be assigned to the Revolutionary Guard and you would be recognized as a terrorist by the United States,
Wow.
just by random.
just by doing your government service.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a hypocritical thing by the U.S. Like you can never go to the United States if they find out that you served for the Revolutionary Guard, and you have no choice in that. You don't choose where you're going to do your military service.
Yeah, you can't tell them like I was really bad at it. I never, quite got it right.
You don't have it.
Yeah.
Which is
I don't know how
yeah.
to load a gun. I never held a gun.
I never held a gun in my life. It was like a Keystone Cops thing where you're fumbling around with the weapon, and it's yeah. So Saman, I wanted to ask you though, like you talked a little bit about knowing a lot of artists in Iran that are underrepresented or kind of unknown still, and you talked about this atmosphere of paranoia and fear that's drilled into you from like all parts of the society. What effect does that have then on comedy? Because you're right, it is hard to joke about all this stuff, but what I've noticed, like people are always telling jokes, people always have a sense of humor, even in like horrible times. So what's the comedy scene like in Tehran right now?
Zero.
Siri question.
I mean,
You don't have stand-up comedy?
man, you can't have a stand-up comedy in an atmosphere like that. First of all, people don't want to laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second, I mean, there are some Iranian comedians in LA, and maybe you've heard of Maz Jobrani. He was actually here a few years ago, and then there was
He'll be coming back.
yeah. To this podcast. No, I'm sure.
Hopefully, no.
Hopefully we'll get him.
Yeah, but like there's a few that are like known internationally, but in Iran itself, I don't know. Like I at least, especially at the time that I left, it was all these cringy, like you can't really joke about anything.
Yeah.
What are you gonna joke about? Criticizing the government or what? Criticizing what can you do? Like
all the stuff that people really want to talk about, you can't talk about.
You
all the
can-
stuff that's boring and kind of bullshit.
Yeah,
you
that's
can't
why
talk
it's.
about.
Well, I didn't, by artists, I didn't just mean like comedy. I meant like any sort of art form. Like I know a lot of painters. I know a lot of like cartoonists or filmmakers, musicians. They're all like, yeah. I had a friend. He had a punk band or something over there, and like, yeah, like they got like their drummer committed suicide after a while because of depression she had over there, like so all this, it's just fucked up,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, especially if you're an artist or if you're somebody who doesn't.
Sorry to hear that.
Right. And especially if you're like somebody who's using words, right? Because comedy, as we talked about, it's all about the language you're using. It's about using words to get a reaction from the audience that you're talking with.
Yeah.
And yeah, probably there is no stand-up scene. I can't imagine like what a comedy club might look like. But is there still like, I don't know, what kind of jokes do people pass along to each other? I don't know whether it's in the WhatsApp chats or whatever it might be, but like
cringy ones.
Cringy ones?
Mostly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there's no underground comedy scene, really? Okay.
Yeah, my people need me.
Yeah, that's right. You got to start doing it in Turkish, English, and Farsi just to get the whole thing.
Yeah, but I can't really. I don't know. Like I've talked to a few people here that are Turkish people that do English stand-up.
Mhm.
I asked them, why don't you do Turkish? And they were like, I can't think in Turkish.
What you're saying there is like, you know, it sounds like these artists and creatives, and you said cartoonists also, right? That's
Yeah.
also a form of comedy. Like, is there something like an underground scene where people are working on this stuff? Because if you have a punk band, you got to have a rehearsal space. You got to have people who come to shows and stuff.
No, it's all jam session.
So jam
rehearse.
jam session punk band.
Yeah.
Man, it's only underground. When people told me, hey, we're going to this club, it's an underground place. And then I came and I was like, this isn't underground. There's literally people like, you know, like, everything over there is underground. Almost everything. Everything is illegal.
Mhm.
If you live by the law over there,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna have a bad time, okay?
Right, right. So alcohol is forbidden, but from what I understand, a lot of it is imported.
Yeah, it's like at least in my hometown. I mean, the way we got alcohol was like how you would get heroin here.
Yeah.
Not that I know
How
how
is
you
that,
would
Saman?
get
Yeah,
it.
how would you? Right.
Not that I know anything.
Subscribe to the
about that.
Patreon for a step-by-step guide on how to get premium Afghan heroin.
Yeah.
Will be delivered to you at your place of address by Murat Gençol,
Why
my
do you think?
co-host.
Why do you think I'm here for 10 years,
That's
man?
right. Because you can't get the energy to leave. You're too strung out to go. Yeah.
So you never go back to Iran in summers or for holidays? Do you have any
I
family? over
can't
there?
because of this conscription thing.
Oh, yeah.
basically. I mean, yeah, I could go, but they probably won't let me.
You'll be
like,
signed up for military.
Yeah,
Why
they won't-
risk it? Yeah.
They wouldn't. They won't let me leave.
Yeah.
I guess. And yeah, and well, I mean, yeah, I don't mentally click with a lot of people there as well. But like these things that have been happening in Iran lately, it's a spark of hope, you know. And also, for the first time, you know, they're not saying all these because like in the previous protests, they had like all these Islamic chants like Allahu Akbar, which was like I was like, are you for real? You're protesting and yet you're saying Allahu Akbar, like. But now for the
Reverse
first time-
psychology.
yeah. But now they don't have either of that, or they don't. There's not even people that believe that they should have a change within the system or anything. All of these beliefs, they just want this regime, this theocratic regime, to go and get done.
Yeah, historically speaking, there has been protests like every other 10 years, right? Every 10 years.
First
There's
it
been
was
some-
like every 10 years, and then it was 5. Now it's way more frequent. Now it's like every year, and it's a major one, and it's becoming more violent. Yeah, now I really think it's the time to.
Yeah.
Go.
That's always the question, whether you're talking about Russia or Iran or some other third country that I won't name. You know, the question is how long can these things stay in power? And I mean, we all have our hopes, but nobody knows, right?
Yeah, but you know, like the medieval times, it lasted for centuries.
Yeah.
That's how much I was like in despair. I thought like, it's not
This will be forever.
it's not gonna happen.
felt
Yeah,
like.
yeah, you know, like, but hopefully now I'm seeing that
Yeah.
everybody's fed up. But I mean, like everyone is fed up with them. Like I've been searching. I used to, before these things happen, I used to use Instagram for maybe an hour tops a day. I was checking my activity the other day, 7 hours a day. I'm just checking all these new posts. I just want to see people fuck shit up, you know?
Yeah. It's pretty
I enjoy it. Like, yeah, it's anarchy, and yeah, blowing up a bank it seems like it's just ruining and vandalizing stuff. But hey, that bank is owned by the Revolutionary Guard, so just fuck it up, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I get a kick out of these things, or like,
And all the artists that you know in Iran, how have they been responding to these events? Because I've seen so many creative like videos and like images, cartoons, things people have painted, videos people have made. There's been a real burst of creativity as people are hoping to like keep the hashtags going, you know, keep social media up, which increases awareness of the protests that are happening right now. So all those creatives that you know in Iran, I'm just wondering how they've responded to this.
everybody's doing their bit, you know? Like, anybody who can do something. It's not just, I mean, yeah, you have like hackers doing, like, from Anonymous and some other hack groups, like they're hacking. People going on the streets, which is the most important part. There are people who record them and they send them to broadcast.
Mhm.
And then there's artists that do their part by, you know, raising awareness, putting something fresh out, you know, so that the movement doesn't die. And not just it doesn't die, it's actually it's had a pretty stable like. Now we're at the second week of it, and you know, it's just as good as the first days.
Yeah, doesn't
No?
seem to be letting up. And then there's a lot of Iranians outside Iran who are also helping to spread everything happening inside to the outside world.
Yeah, this Saturday actually, there's going to be a lot of protests all over in every major city in the world. Pretty much, I saw this guy's Instagram that had all of the locations. They didn't miss a
Uh,
single place. You know?
How is the control over internet over there? Is it a closed circle like China? Is it closer to
Um,
that? How do
I
you
think
keep
there's a
up the
kill switch,
communication?
right? There's like
Yeah, actually, I mean, well, I'm talking to my friends or my family sometimes in Iran, and they cut it at 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they're
it's
offline.
it's almost everybody. Well, for years they've been using VPNs and like
Yeah.
anything that to get through this. But other than that, like it's just these days, especially like they just cut it from 5 p.m. I think till midnight or something because like
But-
mostly the protests happen at nighttime.
But they can still connect through VPN, is it? Or they
Tor?
entire
No,
internet?
I can barely like connect anybody through WhatsApp.
That sucks because I wanted to point out that you said compared to medieval times it's faster. So compared to medieval times, you have this huge communication network.
Of
You
course,
can
of course.
get news from the neighboring countries. They are
People-
not in the medieval times anymore.
Yeah, people also wipe their asses. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of differences between the medieval times and now.
Yeah.
But like that's why they should the people at the top, they don't fucking realize this. There's a big
Yeah.
difference. Like you can't just be a theocratic regime and like fuck
can't get
people.
away with it so easily anymore.
And
right?
yeah, and it's not just that. Like this regime has done bad all over the world. Like I wouldn't know where to start. Like Syria, Iraq, all these countries, like they're preventing them from having democratic governments as well. Like Iran is supporting the Assad regime, and like also, they're also Putin bought a shit ton of drones from Iran because he was desperate for that, and like all these proxy wars and all that. Yeah, it's just like
They're gambling with people's lives. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And so, yeah, as you said, it's the second week of the protests. Is there anything you want? Because this is an English listening audience, right?
Yeah.
Of 100,000 more or less that we have.
or 100 mentally ill people.
100 mentally ill people, which need to have 1,000 split personalities.
Yes.
Which, if you keep downloading the podcast and just playing it on whatever servers you can get access to, play it on some Iranian servers. Play this in Iran. To block out whatever communications
They're
government is
gonna
sending
play it from like these trucks, like they advertise.
Yeah. Exactly.
Imagine that is the case. Do you want
Yeah.
to send a message to
because
people?
we need the downloads, we need the plays. So I'd be happy to contribute this podcast to the cause as a kind of like psychological torture.
Is that why I'm here?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So you're
we're
exploiting me
we're
right
building
now.
a new
Okay,
psychological
makes sense.
torture weapon in the form of a podcast of 3 comedians.
Yeah. Also to give Turkish people hope.
Yeah.
You see, there are worse countries than.
Yeah, this is what gives Turkish people hope. Is this podcast?
I was going to asking if you want to send a message to people over there. No to that as well.
I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
if they would get it, but
hey, people in Iran know English pretty well.
I mean, like through the internet, not that they wouldn't
Yeah,
understand
okay.
it. Yeah.
I don't want to sound like a Che Guevara wannabe or something, but my message would be fuck shit up, as much as you can.
Yeah.
That's the goal of the podcast. That's the vibe of the podcast. We're sponsored by like not even a company, just making Molotov cocktails and throwing them through the windows of banks. That's the sponsorship of this podcast. Whatever money you get from that bank that you start blowing up, if you could send some of it to the Patreon You know, I mean, I know Iran's not connected to SWIFT, but you know, just send the money to Murat Gençoğlu's
Yeah, man.
house.
I mean, I don't get it when Russians complain about, oh, we don't have SWIFT anymore, or we don't have this, we don't have this. I mean, like, bitch, please. We've had, like, this is our life basically for the last
Never
25
had it.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never had any
Welcome
of
to
these.
the club,
Yeah,
bitch.
wait till you fly with planes from the 70s.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like
That's already happening. Yeah, they're
yeah, tell me.
So-
Stop bitching about things that second world problems. you know?
birds of a feather. First world, second
I
world.
get to complain first.
Yeah.
I had it
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, first world,
Honestly.
second world, sanction world, third world,
Sanction world. literally.
sanction world, the least fun Disneyland knockoff. Like, welcome to sanction world.
But you know what? Sanctions, like the United States or like some countries, they impose sanctions on Iran, but the people, it only affects like the population. It doesn't affect like the people at the top
Yeah.
because like they're so wealthy that they don't give a shit about it. They can go.
Yeah,
like,
all the richest people have already gotten their money out of the country.
yeah, they can do whatever they want, and you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just want to advertise that the country of Turkey, on the other hand, is fantastic. And, has no structural problems, actually. It's the only country I've seen that has actually no structural problems in its government or financial system. Yes?
Everything is
I mean,
perfect.
in comparison
Not
with Iran,
at all.
hear me out, dude. In comparison with Iran, like a few years ago, I don't know, like these fuckers, they took out, I don't know, I couldn't even count the zeros. That's how much money it was. Like,
Yeah.
it was, they took, like, it happened twice, I think.
Hmm.
I don't know, 90 billion or some shit like that. I don't know
Did they
how
print
much.
like
it
a
was.
really long receipt?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what happened, Leon.
That's right. On that note, I think we're going to end the podcast. All right. Thank you. Thanks to all of our listeners in Iran and elsewhere, the two kinds of places in the world, for joining us on this episode of the Comedy Passport podcast from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm Leon Sandler. My guest tonight has been...
Saman Tinati, man, dude.
That's right.
And I was joined here as Murat Gençoğlu as well.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Still
Murat
Murat
was here.
Gençoğlu. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next time. Bye.
Hello, can I see your passports, please?